Hey, hi, hello. You may not remember me since I haven't done a video in 3 weeks. Jesus Christ. Almost feels like longer than that. It probably has been longer than that. But welcome back to the Chris Stevens Writes YouTube channel. I am, of course, Chris Stevens, a writer who writes and has a ton of opinions on a bunch of stuff. And I'm not going to waste you guys' time tonight. As you can tell, I'm a little keyed up as I'm recording this because it's NCAA tournament time. One of my favorite times of the year, of course, is I cover college sports. We're in the college sports outlet. And this is the HBCU Stan account. I graduated from Delaware State University, in case you guys are not familiar. And Grambling just defeated Montana State 88-81 in overtime in their very first NCAA tournament appearance. So shouts out to them Grambling Tigers. I am turned right now. That's why I'm probably excited enough to do this video, because I needed to get something on the channel, because I actually recorded something a week ago, didn't like it, junked it. Then I was sick before that. I had the cold from hell, man. I don't know if it was COVID. I probably should have got tested, even though I've been vaccinated and boosted several times over. But I don't know. I mean, maybe it was just like, that late winter, early spring cold that just, knocks you down. That's what happened to me in early March, man. And it beat my behind. So I was not in the mood to record a video. I was not in the mood to do much of anything, but I had to keep working because, you have to pay bills. And I like my apartment. So I want to keep my apartment. So I kept working. But yeah, I haven't had a chance to record anything, and I'm going to really get serious about, growing this channel. I reached out, asked some folks on social media what they'd like to hear on this channel, and I got a good response from someone who's probably going to join me to talk about this particular subject, once we get to that. But for the purpose of this video, I saw something on X, formerly known as Twitter. Whatever, man, it's still Twitter. And this person asked, what were you doing when the pandemic started 4 years ago? People forget that, time really flew, because if you told me that we'd still be sitting here dealing with COVID because people just were selfish to the point, and I'm not even talking about normal human beings, because normal human beings already have a diluted sense of self anyway, but I'm just talking about, the politicians and the business people who, capitalism runs this world, man, at least our world, those of us who live in the United States of America. And they couldn't just have us sit until this thing went away, because if everybody had stayed home for, I say 2 years, if we had just sat at home for 2 freaking years, we would not be still dealing with, different strains of COVID. People wouldn't be dealing with the loss of loved ones and different things of that nature. And I just thought about where I was when COVID started, because it's very interesting, because I started this channel around the same time the pandemic began. So, and I forgot about it for several years, as you noticed, and finally getting back to it in 2024. I had a vision of doing a video every week, but life got in the way, but that's okay, because I'm going to just keep plugging away until I make this channel something that I can be proud of, something that I can enjoy, and something that other people can enjoy, and hopefully, give myself another outlet for people to, learn more about me as a writer, as a journalist, as a, person that provides commentary and critique on different things. So my goals are very stated, very clear. I want this channel to grow and be something that can be solvent, that can be relevant, that can be, something I can, lean on when I need to. So I thought about it, and I thought about that question. I was like, wow, when the pandemic started, because I never forget, because I had finally, I started 2020 under 300 pounds for the first time in 7 or 8 years, or more like 7 years. And I was really, really serious about losing weight at this point, because I had a date from hell in 2018, really hurt my feelings. And I said, okay, I'm going to get serious about losing weight, because I thought that was what was holding me back. Maybe I'll do a relationship topic show at some point. I keep threatening to do it, but it just really doesn't sit well with me, because I don't want to come off as bitter or anything like that. But anybody that's heard me, discuss these things, that's not my MO anyway. But I had finally gotten under 300 pounds, and I was already upset because the basketball tournament that I was covering, the boys and girls basketball tournament here in Delaware, we had 2 great Final Fours on tap, and the world stopped. And those Final Fours are lost to history. We'll never know who those champions would have been. So I was already upset about that. So imagine going to my local Planet Fitness where I had been, really just slaving and grinding away for the better part of, about a year, and seeing that sign on the door saying closed until further notice. And I was treadmill heavy at that point. I was getting busy on the treadmill, but I had never run out. I mean, I'd run outside before. I'd actually had a streak going, but it really wasn't a streak because I really wasn't running that much. So I thought about it and I said, well, you can either let this stop you or you can find another way. And luckily, the Planet Fitness in my hometown of Wilmington, Delaware is literally around the corner from the riverfront Riverwalk. And it had little quarter-mile signs everywhere and let you know that you're going a quarter mile here, you're going a quarter mile there. So I just, I quickly downloaded a run calculator, a pace calculator app, or whatever you want to call it, and started running. And by the time December rolled around, because this was in March, I was down to 220 pounds, and it was the lowest I'd ever been in my adult life. I eventually got down to about 218, and I think I scared myself. So I ended up going back into old eating habits, but still working out. So the heaviest I've gotten is like 270, but I'm holding steady at about 255 right now. But I want to get back into the 220s by my birthday, which is September 25th. So if I can do that, I'll be happy. I want to do it for the summer, but looks like, my summer's going to be busy working anyway, so it may not matter. But overall, just, thinking about where the pandemic was, where I was, at that point in time in my life. And, I thought it was a cool time because, it gave everybody a chance to breathe. I had a job that I hated. I mean, I ended up working at Claymont Library for 4.5 years. And I was barely halfway through my tenure at that point. And that gave me a chance to just sit home and be, just say, okay, all right, you don't like this job, but you have to have one because, you have a car to maintain. You eventually want to, move somewhere because I was, stuck in this living situation that I deemed undesirable. Other people may not have deemed it undesirable, but I deemed it undesirable. I want to get back out on my own at some point. And I was like, well, I mean, you're getting paid to sit around and do nothing, so start thinking about things that you can do. So I wrote a couple books. I mean, obviously, I've been writing books. I can't wait to tell you guys about how my novelist journey started. And, and then the best thing about quarantine for me was the DJs going live, like D-Nice, Jazzy Jeff. Shout out to my guy, DJ Artistic. I remember discovering DJ Tara. She's really good. A lot of folks just, playing music because music is the only thing that a lot of people had to pass the time. And it turned out to be, the best thing that could have happened for a lot of us. And the early days of the pandemic was just like, sweet because, again, everybody just got to sit still. We didn't have those opportunities, when we were going to work every day, when we had, obligations. And I think what that taught me is that I literally just needed to reassess myself as a human being outside of the weight loss. Because I even started therapy during the pandemic, and I'm trying to find a way back in right now. Because the way my work situation is set up, I'm a contract worker, so I don't have a salary. So it's just hard for me to go find a therapist who, can, is either low cost or can wait till I get paid at the end of the month. Because that's, as a contract worker, that's what it stipulates this week. So, and just, being mindful of where I was at that point because, I had lost the weight. I felt great, physically, but emotionally, something was still missing for the most part. So I started therapy and I, started realizing, I needed different coping mechanisms than, just sitting and stewing or just, letting depression and sadness have its way with me. And that's something that I'm still learning to deal with. And it's something that I'm still learning to sort of, put myself in a better position to deal with. Because I'm, at this point in my life, I worry a lot about, a companionships, from a companionship standpoint. And it's been tough, man. I lost the weight because I thought that was going to be the thing to, fix my dating issues. And to date, that hasn't really happened. But, I think what, I had to learn about that period of time and learning about myself is, okay, yes, you should be proud of yourself that you lost weight, but you still need to figure out, why you're struggling with the dating, because it's still a nightmare. Like, I could tell you guys about an ongoing conversation that I'm having right now with someone that I met on an app that isn't really going as I would have hoped, or maybe as even as this person would have hoped. But, you know, these are the things that, we deal with as adults, and, you learn to just navigate these things as best you can. And I think we all had to learn at some point that this world, there's no sense in enjoying, putting yourself through something that that could be taken from you tomorrow. Because a lot of people lost people during COVID. A lot of people's lives were changed during COVID, and I don't think we've ever properly grieved the loss of different things, whether it be jobs, whether it be relationships, because people learned a lot about each other because they didn't have any choice but to be around each other. And some folks' relationships got stronger, other folks' relationships fell by the wayside. I'm not even talking about from a romantic standpoint. I'm talking about like friends, family. I mean, 9 times out of 10, you already know that your coworkers are gonna get on your last goddamn nerve. But not being around them, you learn that how much these people you can actually tolerate when it was time to go back to work. And just thinking about how that was 4 years ago. I mean, it doesn't seem like it, but time really flew because we didn't even have enough time to breathe. Nobody really stayed home longer than 6 months because I never forget my job called us back in 3 months after the fact because we went home in the middle of March, and in June, our manager says, "Hey guys, we're doing a soft reopening. I mean, we're not going to have people in the library, but we're still going to allow people to check out books, virtually and all of that." And and it was just like, y'all do know that this was something that you can't just put a 3-month band-aid on and everything's going to be okay. And of course, by September we were open to people again, and then by the beginning of 2021 we were fully open. So it was like, it was almost like we never had a break. And a lot of people that work and have to we all have to work to make a living because that's what capitalism states. And a lot of people never got that break. People never feel like you had a chance to breathe. That's why people are fighting so hard to not go back into the office, because that time period when we didn't have to look at people, when we didn't have to deal with some people being rude, some people just not doing their jobs correctly, and those of us who worked in the customer service sector, you realize. I mean, I've always said, my manager at the time said the customer is always right. That was her mentality. My mentality is the customer's a fucking idiot. So I mean, some people are just, they're not smart, they're not kind. I'm not trying to do the help. I'm not trying to do help. You was smart, you was kind, you was important. I'm just saying some of these people are just like, either not very smart or just very rude, and I have time for neither. Like I already told you about my come to Jesus moment at the library when I knew I wasn't going to be there very much longer, when the dude was complaining about, special needs people. So yeah, just thinking about, the pandemic and how it started, 2020 was a very interesting time. I mean, we had professional sports leagues, playing in empty arenas with crowd noise piped in and people buying fake cards of themselves to put in the seats. There wasn't a lot of concerts. There was barely television because people couldn't be around each other because in movies, because people, certain folks were anti-vax in that industry, and it was a very interesting time. And I just thought about that, and I just wanted to share my thoughts on it and how it felt really strange that like life was a ghost town, because I'll never forget, I ran around the riverfront, and then I started walking at night too, and down during that riverfront district, of course, has been there. I mean, it was the first thing there when it opened 30 plus years ago, was Judy Johnson Field at Frolic Stadium, which of course where the minor league baseball team plays, the Wilmington Blue Rocks. And there was no minor league baseball in the summer of 2020. And it was just strange to walk around the riverfront at night and not see people eating at the restaurants, just seeing scant people walk and they had masks on, and then walking by the stadium, and the stadium was just like quiet. Like there was no, I mean, there were the lights weren't on, there was no baseball, obviously, there were no people in the stands. It was just like a really strange time. But as a person who kind of sort of, or has always been a loner, has always, been by myself, and that's probably why I have such a hard time, socializing and dating and different things of that nature. But it felt like heaven. The pandemic felt like heaven because I didn't have to be bothered with anybody if I didn't want to. I minded my own business. I worked on my own things. I was rediscovering, different forms of music and art and things that I enjoyed. And it was a different time. And we're all back to normal now, whatever normal looks like. But it's not the same as it was before. And the pandemic, just those first months of quarantine, God, I wish I could go back. And I know a lot of people wish we could go back because, it was just, it was peaceful. It was quiet. It was a chance to literally just get to know yourself, or just be with yourself, or just not deal with anyone else if you didn't want to. And that question on Twitter really just got me to thinking how, wow, the pandemic has really it's 4 years old now. Because COVID's still running rampant in these streets, running through your crib like a Tomb Raider, word to Megan Thee Stallion. So it's just one of them things where you have to just take a step back and just think about how things were at that time, because it was very interesting. It was just one of those points in time, and one of those times in history where you just never forget where you were and how it affected you. So it's very interesting. And once again, I just wanted to get a video up, and that inspired me to get a video going because I hadn't done anything in 3 weeks because I was sick at first, then I was busy and sick. Then when I stopped getting sick, I just didn't know what the heck I wanted to talk about. I put a video together, hated it, junked it. And then, of course, I said, all right, I'm going to get this channel restarted. So we're back to business. So thank y'all for watching this edition of Chris Stevens Writes. Greatly appreciate y'all's time as always. All the contact information and ways to check out my art and content will be in the description below. So thank y'all for watching. Once again, once a week. I'm going to start doing videos once a week. I was doing them 2-3 times a week. But if I can get one video a week, then I can work my way up to 2, work my way up to 3, and then we'll be back in business. So thank y'all for watching. Till the next time we speak, y'all be good or be good at it.